Everybody. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's try that again. Good morning, everyone. Okay, it's Tuesday morning. We can get better response out of that. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. I hope everyone takes an opportunity today to vote. I live in New York City, and I have a mayoral election to deal with. So I'm hoping to get home in time for that. Thank you for being here. Thanks to everyone on the web. As we take questions, if you would just remember to wait for a mic to get to you, and we'll have myself and somebody else running those so that people on the web can hear the question as well as the answer. Also, this is being recorded and will be posted to finance.rutgers.edu as well as the Cornerstone website, and all the slides will be posted later today as well. So that's just, I think that's the end of the housekeeping. So thanks for being here. Want to cover a number of things today in regards to both remediation activities for Phase 1 of Cornerstone, things coming up with Cornerstone Phase 2, an initiative regarding the chart of accounts, which has a lot to do with improving understanding and reporting things, lessons learned from the first year of operation, and how we can make it better. First and foremost, just want to thank everybody for the patience and for your support and collaboration in terms of dealing with issues as we've gone through this first year. It's certainly been challenging. There's no question that I would have rather had different sets of conversations along the way. We have done a complex, big thing here in the effect of merging two universities at one time and then having to get thousands and thousands of different pieces to work correctly. And many of them did, but many of them did not. And we're still making sure that everything is tied down. One of the things that has been most concerning, but also a learning experience, was the process of going through the year-end close. The year-end close is necessary both to get the record of the past year, but also to interact with our external auditors from KPMG and really be in a position to both get a clean audit, but also have a clear understanding of how to do the fundamental financial reporting out of the system. That process has been a learning experience for us and for the auditors. As with every new system, this is the fourth one that I've done and gone through the same type of thing at year end for each of them, where you're all of a sudden learning to do things in a different way than you did before. And given the circumstance we've been in since the merger, we actually were doing year-end closing in two different ways and then having to push them together between Banner and Rios, and then getting this third one to go has been a big issue. Well, we're very close to that. I will say that we've had to focus that closing on university level reporting. And so what has is not as clean as it needs to be is what has happened at all the units underneath that, whether they be at the chancellor level or the school level. I mean, for the most part, they are, the reporting out of those units is correct or is reasonable, but there are adjustments that have been necessary during the audit, things that are normal adjustments and things that are cleanup elements that may have been done at a top side, but not necessarily down where it belongs, whether it be one of the chancellor units or one of the schools or different levels in the central administration. That doesn't change the things at the department level, doesn't change things at a grant level, changes things at a higher level, say at a school or responsibility centers as they're defined in the budget. But nonetheless, that is the next task as soon as we get cleared with the auditors in the next week and get the audit finished and that done. We're also at the same time documenting the processes to close so that we know we're not next year reinventing the wheel about how we go through this process, and to discover the things that we need to do during the year so that transactions that are necessary at closing get done at the level in the university that matters. This is sort of thing that before RCM didn't really matter as much, but since that, and since it's the way it's defined in the chart of accounts, we need to do work there. We're also looking at all the sponsored projects in the system and how the system is set up to manage them. As far as I can tell, the transactions that are hitting thus far for expenses to grants are hitting correctly. That's not to say there aren't individual errors that could happen because of something coding wrong or all the normal sorts of things, but fundamentally I think we have not found issues there, but nonetheless we're looking at every single solitary grant to ensure that that's the case. John Fahey, our project executive, will talk in a minute more detail about that, and we'll also open that up to questions as we go along. It has been very frustrating. We want to make sure that the things we think need to be fixed are the only things that need to be fixed in terms of grants that converted, in particular from old system to new. That's been an area, and then just take a step back and make sure that our processes are the right things to do. For the most part, we have had to do complex steps to do billing off of grants. For the most part, that doesn't affect any of the grant activity at a unit level that really is at a university level, but nonetheless, we have to take a hard look at all those, and John will talk about that in a few minutes. He'll also talk about reporting. You've seen a slew of new reports that have come out recently, including some guidance on how to use them. Reporting was certainly not where it needed to be for this system. I saw somebody last week who is putting in this system and said that we've done a lot of legwork for them already in terms of how to set up certain reports. There are several more that are still in development and testing. We're really testing these hard, including use testing by the field, by folks like you or maybe some of you. That's been very important just to ensure that we're all looking at it the same way, the right way, but it's taken time, much more time than it should have. John will also talk about looking through the reports. We did make an effort to push a slew of them out there, but now we want to give some guidance in terms of the best way to use them, how they compare to maybe things that were used in the past. We're not replicating reports out of RIAS and Banner, but we can relate the kind of information that you may have needed and used certain reports with something like that is helpful. So we'll talk about that. Also, just as reports are identified, what's the process for building them, what's the process for testing them, and stepping back, kind of getting a little bit out of the emergency mode and stepping back and saying what's the normal process going forward, because we'll be living with this for, not with the emergency issue, but living with new reporting needs continuously. There's always something somebody needs to see in a different way, and we'll want to know how to do that. We've also recognized through the year end that there were a lot of ways, so there was a lot of flexibility in the use of the new chart of accounts for the general ledger. It was intended to capture a lot of different types of management reporting that had been identified through a couple of years before that as we were defining it. That's the good news. The bad news is that all that flexibility means that in many cases it wasn't used correctly. And I would attribute most of that issue to what is information coming from the team to say how should it be used, the training that should have come along with this complex chart of accounts. So in many cases we have had to clean up transactions and found them during the year end that are clearly, there's nothing wrong with the transaction, it's coded in the wrong places. It's coded with the wrong things. I use as an example a number of transactions that got attributed with an O of the 4-H club or 4-H activities, because that's the first item off the pick list when you pull down for that field. And as people were getting used to how to use it, those things diminished. But it's also important to take a step back and say, well, what are the lessons learned from that? And Kathy Detloff will be talking about that shortly as she talks about the chart of accounts process. There's still a lot of work to do. While I'm hoping we come out of emergency mode and start flowing into how to best use this system, we still need to partner with you. We still need your feedback. We still need to be alerted to issues. When you've got thousands of users in the system, each one of you can see something that the Sintra team may not be able to, so we really need that information to flow back to us so we can do something about it. We'd also like to know better how to use it. If there are different ways or different things that could be improved by training. You saw an announcement yesterday, I hope, about enhanced or renewed training initiative. In essence, a refresher set of courses for everybody. I've told them that I'm signing up for a few of them myself. That I hope will help in the process, but also we could use feedback from you on things that are not included there that should be. So these are some of the things that, again, we want to continue to partner with you to make the system better, make it work, as I would say, nominally, get it to sing the right way for faculty who need it and for the financial administration that needs it, and just to make it less burdensome and more productive for everybody. So with that, I'm going to turn over to John Fahey. I introduced John last month, but some of you may not have seen that. John is, step up, John. John is our new project executive for everything involving Cornerstone, not just the financial projects, but also going forward, the other phases. John came to us after years and years and years of strong project management in both computer and construction administration, most recently from AIG Insurance Company, where he did similar kinds of projects in terms of harnessing the energy of big teams to move forward. So, John, let me turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Mike. All right, can everybody hear me okay? Ooh, yeah, I guess you can. So I'm going to go through, as Mike said, several things today. And please, any questions? We do have a large group of people here, can answer any questions. But really what we want to do is try to give you guys a real honest and focused update on where we are today. Talk about some of the efforts that are still going on. Again, we understand the frustrations. We've heard everything out there. Let you know some of the things that we have accomplished from the goals we've set, some of the promises we've made, but really just kind of give you a sense of where we are, where we're going, and try to just level set the field for everybody kind of from an expectation perspective where you can expect things to go. So we're going to go through some of the stabilization. I'm going to talk a little bit about phase 2. There's been some recent changes. We're taking a new look at the timelines and what phase 2 is going to look like, so I want to give you an update on that. And then some of our ongoing operations. Again, Mike spoke about reporting, training. We rolled out a refreshed website. Going to go through some of those things. And then Kathy's going to come up and talk about a new initiative to look at the chart of accounts. Okay, so for phase one, Mike spoke about both of these briefly. So the year-end activities, again, has been focused on the university financial statements. We really haven't started to take a look at the unit levels, but that's coming. And then the project review for GCA, going through all the grants, and I'm going to get into a little bit more detail about that in just a second. One thing I did want to mention here as well, we're seeing a lot during the project review, also as the year-end activities go on. And I'm sure a lot of you are seeing it in the field because we're getting some calls in the help desk and some emails. Remembering we're in the cloud, and we just went through, as all of you know, a major upgrade to go to R12. Those kinds of upgrades and monthly patches are going to continue to happen. It's part of working in the cloud. It's mandatory, we have to do it. But that being said, we have had some recent issues, especially with R12. Some things came up that we weren't expecting that caused some issues that we had to go back and remediate. So what we've done is try to take a more proactive approach with Oracle. I now actually have a weekly meeting every Monday morning to talk to them, and we're trying to get them to work with us a little closer on these upgrades and really go through everything the upgrade entails. Because lots of times there's bugs in the system, and sometimes for them to fix them, they have to actually change the process. And what happened with R12 was they had to do that in a couple instances, and we weren't aware of it. So it caused a lot of pain for us, and I'm sure for you in the field. So just so you're aware, you know, we see these trends coming, so we're trying to work more closely with Oracle to get better updates from them, get a better download, and do more testing ahead of time before we roll that out into the live system, okay? And then the project review, again, a very large effort. You can see here, 12,000 projects need to be reviewed in the GCA area. So Terry and the GCA team and Huron, our consultant, been working very hard on this. The process is moving a little slow. Again, it's a big process. We're trying to understand exactly what it takes to reconcile these grants from the conversions. We're also looking at some potential issues that have come up from some of the newer contracts that have gone in. So it's been slow progress in the beginning, and a lot of that is because we need to do some training, need to get people up to speed. We also need to go through and understand what's the proper process to reconcile all these grants. Okay, so just to give you an idea where we are, first of all, you can see from the slide, we've broken everything up into priorities. The priority one stuff, obviously, is where our focus is right now. The way these were broken up for priority one was really we took a look and tried to pull out the highest financial and audit risks within the grant system. Okay, specifically federal and state and cost reimbursable grants. Okay, so that's what the priority one buckets really entail. So this has been going on for several weeks now, but just to give you an idea, on the cost reimbursables, we have about 9% of those 931 in progress. 3% of them are complete. On the Huron box here, the legacy RBHS closeouts, about 5% of those are done. The letter of credits, we got about 4% in progress. We've only got 1% complete, but we're working through that process. And then the priority two stuff we really haven't gotten into yet. Okay, so again, this is going to take probably a couple months. This is not something that's going to be resolved today or this week or next week. It's a very big process, and as you can see, 12,000 grants is a big number for people to have to sit there and go through one at a time. All right, so we are on it, we are keeping it up, and at the same time, as they're going through the project review, they're also seeing, if bugs come up or they're identifying other issues in the system, they're bringing them to our attention, and we're putting them into, as Mike said, the emergency bucket for remediation, working with Oracle. Okay? Any questions on the project review? Okay, great. If not, we'll move on. So phase two, again, you've all seen in previous town halls and on the website some timelines, some high-level timelines of what phase two looks like. There were 7 different work streams in there, and with everything that happened in phase one, that timeline kind of, for lack of a better term, guys, I'm going to say kind of sat stale. But we've gone back and taken a look at that. Especially based on some of the results and some of what we saw from the implementation in phase one. We're going back and kind of doing a reassessment of phase two and really trying to get a better understanding of what that should look like, what should our timelines be, and be more realistic in our expectations about what that's going to be. So right now in phase two, we do have 2 current work streams that are active, have already been in process and are continuing. First one is our HR and payroll. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And SEII, which is our Student Experience Improvement Initiative, and I'm going to give some more information on that. So right now for phase two, as we're continuing the remediation and the optimization efforts for phase one, we are moving ahead with phase two. So I'll give you a little bit more information on those 2 work streams. Now, as I said, originally there were 7 work streams. that were part of phase 2. So these 2 are the only ones that are active right now. And then what we've done is gone back and looked at the other 5, and you can see that from now, November through January, we're going to be doing reassessments, really, and scoping these projects out. So the next area of focus is going to be research and administration. There's still some work to do around RAPS and EIRB and animal operations. So we're going to scope those out, assess those. Once we get the scope together, try to put a timeline together. When is it realistic we can get these things done? Again, especially with research administration, understanding the massive project review effort. How does that impact our timeline to pull resources to move ahead? So we're going to be assessing and scoping that one out. The next one is going to be financial management. Again, that's most of what phase 1 was, but we've still got some other areas of focus for financial management as well. We've got fixed assets that still need to be integrated. We have to do a treasury integration. We've got to work with the research team for RAPS integration. All right, so we're in the process of scoping that out over the next 2 months. Next one is budget and planning. We know Hyperion profitability and cost management cloud service is ready to move forward in January, but there are some other items around budget and planning that we'll be meeting with Kathy to scope those out and assess what that scope of work is going to look like and put new timelines on that as well. And then the last one is procurement. Again, we got the P2P system, expense and travel management. There's a lot of things going on in procurement now, but there's still a few questions we have about what phase 2 looks like and some of these integrations and implementations. Okay, and then finally last one here is reporting and analytics. This one is probably going to take a lot of scoping work. We're not sure just how big this is going to be. Again, reporting is a key focus on this system. It's something we've been working on very hard. The other piece of it is the analytics, which we haven't really done a lot of work on yet. But that's a key to this system. As we said, one of the goals of this entire implementation is provide better data to administration university to make informed decisions. So the only way we can do that is to have better analytics. So the whole reporting and analytics is going to, scoping on this one probably may even go beyond January 1st, because it's a very critical piece, but we need to see what that looks like. So the bottom line is, after we get through all these assessments and scoping by January, then we're going to come back and reassess the timelines and put new timelines out there to see when this stuff really is going to come so we can let everybody know when to look for these things. Okay? So that's the high-level timeline. But focusing on the 2 projects that are kind of in action right now. First one is HR and payroll. So that's been going on for a couple months now. Again, this is, our intention is this is going to take a couple years, but it's really to, as it says up there, streamline and integrate human resource services. Just provide better services from a human resources perspective. Okay, so as you can see, the timeline goes way out to 2019. Some of the work that's already happened here, you can see from the current timeline up there, we're at the Mobilized Change Network. So we've gone through and done a full analysis already. The surveys have been done. We're looking at the business cases. We're looking at piloting some business process re-engineering for the HR group. That's what's getting ready to start now. Once we get through some of the re-engineering, then we'll also be looking to make some adjustments, do some organizational reviews, and then ultimately we'll move into an integration of the systems itself. But we need to work on the business process and the organization first before we worry about the technology side. So it's going to take a couple years. We're looking at the 2019 before this is finally done. But there is a lot of activity in HR and payroll now, if you hear about some things happening, because we are moving ahead with the process re-engineering piece of it. Okay, any questions on HR? Okay, next up is our student experience. Again, kind of an in-flight project been going on. So really, the biggest piece of this is the one-stop service centers. So I mean, the goal there is to provide intuitive and comprehensive services for the students for the entire life cycle of their time here at Rutgers, from recruitment through graduation. They're going to be able to access information and get support across a variety of resources, from the web, from email, phone, in person. The way this will be set up is to provide the same kind of consistent level of service and support for students, regardless of what campus they're on or where they are in their life here at Rutgers. So the big piece of this is in the middle there where you see supported by. The goal here for one-stop shops is we cross-train generalists. So we cross-train a bunch of people that will answer a phone, take web messages, as well as be in the physical one-stop shop centers, where a majority of the requests that come from students can be answered. So what that really does is gets away from the mindset of we have one person who does registrar, one person who does financial aid, one person who does enrollment, where a student could call or walk in and say, oh, that's not my area, you need to go talk to somebody else, and it frustrates students. So by training generalists, they have enough base information that most of the requests come in across what the questions might be from, they can answer them. And then, of course, we'll have specialists beyond that because we can't teach everybody everything, and some students are going to come forward with some complex issues or questions that they need resolved. Okay, so that's the goal here, is to try to provide consistent service, but also good service, so students don't have to keep running around and get what they're looking for. So our hope is that between the phone calls, the emails, and everything else, a majority of these questions will be answered. There will be one-stop actual physical service centers on each campus. We're in the process of looking at where they're going to be and how they're going to be set up now. But our hope is, and this sounds kind of funny, is we're going to spend a lot of money to build these, but our hope is nobody ever comes into them because they can get their answers self-service through the web or on the phone. Okay, so this is just to provide a better experience for the students. So one of the ways we went about this is we did an activity analysis. We did surveys. Those surveys were done in October. So the vice chancellors for enrollment management at each campus held town halls in September and October, where they introduced the one-stop service model as well as the activity analysis surveys. Those surveys were opened up October 11th, closed October 25th, and we're revisiting and analyzing those results right now. Okay, so this was conducted across pretty much every group that touches students. So it was the registrar, financial aid, student affairs, and that was in central administration, Camden, Newark, New Brunswick. So we kind of went across and covered everybody. So it was a very intense analysis, good surveys. And the purpose really was to understand what's the time and effort from everybody in those areas that they're spending on activities now, so we can look to improve upon that. So that data that we got back from those surveys, that's going to help us shape the future state of what these one-stop shops look like. Okay? The other thing we tried to do was it gave the staff an opportunity to self-report. Basically tell us what you're actually doing. What does your day look like? How much time are you spending doing different activities? It also gave them an opportunity to participate in the process. We're talking about improving the employee experience. They work directly with the students. Help us. Get involved and collaborate with us to make this a better experience for all of us. The other thing that we did here was we asked the staff for opinions on what career development and training and learning look like for them in the current state. So we did that for two reasons. Number one, do we need to work more with the staff? Again, ultimately this is about providing a higher level of service to the students. But what about the staff? Let's not leave them behind. Is there more training? Is there more we can do for them to make their life here at Rutgers more satisfied? Okay? So we're kind of focusing on the staff and the students. If we have a happier staff, they're going to service our students better. And it's going to be a better experience for everybody. So we also gave the staff an opportunity to give us some opinions on what would help them moving forward as well. Okay? So as you can see now, we're in the process of analyzing the data. And from here, we'll go into kind of the same things we just went through for HR. We'll go into process reviews. We'll look at designing and implementing a new system. We're looking at probably fall of next year, 2018, to go out and actually select a student information system to get ready for integration. So again, this is another work stream that has a lot of work left ahead and will not be complete until sometime in 2019. Okay? Any questions on any of that? All right, we're doing good. So next, as Mike talked about, there's a lot going on. There's also always going to be a section that we need to talk about for ongoing initiatives. This process never stops. We never stop improving the system. There's always something we can do differently or better or look at a different way. Okay, so some of the things that we're working on now is reporting. As Mike said, a big one. Okay, so there's been the Enhanced Reporting Initiative, which really was being run by the Controller's Office. That's where all these new reports and enhancements and improvements you've seen have been coming from, so they've been working very hard already. But again, that's somewhat in an emergency mode. We're reacting to what's needed today. We wanted to expand that and move it into the future for permanent support as well. So we created a little bit of a bigger initiative, and we're calling it Cornerstone Reporting Optimization. So the Enhanced Reporting Initiative team, they'll continue to create new reports. They'll continue to enhance and improve some of the existing reports that are out there. That's all based on your requests and requirements. And they'll be an integral part of the reporting optimization program. But the other thing they're working on now is developing a matrix. As Mike said, there's a lot of reports out there, and we hear some frustrations from the community that maybe they're not sure what all the reports are or what they actually do and how to use them. So what that team is also working on now is a matrix to get out there to everybody to show you these are all the reports that are there. This is how you get to them. This is how you run them. This is exactly what they're going to provide for you. Okay, because some of the things we've had coming in as requests for reports, we've actually gone back and looked and said, you know what, there's already a report out there that does that, they just didn't know about it. Okay, so we're developing that matrix too. We're also looking at getting recommendations in there for you that you would know exactly what reports to go to based on what your role is in the organization. What kind of data do you pull? What is your actual job function to try to immediately direct you to the right reports? All right. Part of this also, and Mike mentioned this, we're going back and doing a full review of everything that's out there. You know, there were 65 reports out there when the system was implemented. There's at least 10 more have been put out there. And as these requests are coming in, we are seeing legitimate requests that there's a need for more data or reporting information, and there's no report available, so we have to create a new report. We don't want to just keep adding new reports every time a request comes in and get this system up to where it's 150, 200 reports. It'll make it even more difficult for you to find what you're looking for. So part of this process is going back and cleaning up the old stuff. We've gone through, the enhanced reporting team has gone through, basically identified all those reports and put together a description of what those reports are. We're going to start socializing that with folks to take a look at them. Our hope is that we can clean that up. If there's reports out there that are not being fully utilized or not delivering the right level of information for you, we want to go ahead and sunset those and kind of get them out of your way to clean that up a little bit. We're also looking at the queries as well as the reports. So we're also working on cleaning up what's already out there before we just keep adding new stuff, okay? And also this initiative is not just about Oracle, okay? Because as we said, the focus has been Oracle. What do we need to do to get this phase one and all this information in a better state? At the same time, we still have folks out there saying, I still can't get the right reports out of SideQuest. I'm still not getting the right stuff out of Data Warehouse. Can we use Tableau for some of this? So we're looking at all the systems and all the tools as part of this optimization, not just Oracle. Okay? And then finally, as Mike said, you know, this is something that will go on forever. There's always going to be a need for more reports. As time goes forward, as the system grows, as we put more in there, as requirements change for everybody we work with. So one of the other results out of this initiative is going to be we're going to create a reporting center of excellence. So there's a team of subject matter experts in place to manage all the reporting efforts for the university moving forward. Okay? Now, that's basically work in process and some of the things we're working on. A quick update for you, though, on some of the things that we've already achieved. So you should have all got an announcement yesterday about some new reports just going into production. So some of these ones on the top, the general ledger reports, GL73 has been out there for a couple weeks now. GL88 is available for your trial balances. There's a new employee status report. So again, non-Oracle, that's financial data warehouse, okay, via Discover. So new enhanced employee status report has been made available to all employees. And then GL71 is a transaction detail report. That's another enhanced report, one that was already out there, but we've improved. So take a look at that one. The next three are pretty key. PJ 71, 72, and 73. These are reports that have been in development for a while. I know especially anyone working on sponsored research or grants, these are ones folks have been waiting for. But again, they took a long time to get out there because we wanted to really do some testing. You know, GCA spent a lot of time with the Controller's Office. We had them out in the business fields. We had them out in the business units. And we had field testing done on these. So we've kind of really vetted them out pretty well. PJ 73 is an enhanced report for the cost details. So that's available out there. One of the new reports is PJ 72. Okay, that is a sponsored project report that just went into production. All right, so that's available now. There's one third report there, PJ 71. The reason we have it listed here, it's not in production yet, but it kind of goes with 72 and 73. We're just doing some final tweaks on that. From testing, we found one or two more small modifications we'd like to make to that report. They're being done now. We expect that report to be in production by the end of next week. So just real quickly, PJ 71, that's where you're going to be able to go and get your current balance information on projects. That can be generated for one or multiple projects under a single contract, and it'll give you total budgets, expenses, encumbrances, and balances for your projects. Okay, and we also recommend this for awards with multiple PIs or contracts under one award. All right, PJ 72 is transactions within a date range by natural account, and PJ 73 is transactions just within a specified date range. All right, so there are some key reports that we hope are going to be very helpful for the sponsored research and grant teams out there. Okay? There's also, Terry, you want to talk about the queries real quick? There was also in the announcement yesterday mention of a couple queries in addition to reports.
Okay. So for anybody who's gone to the RAIN group, prior to 71 and 72, there were a series of queries that Angelo has in his folder, and they were in the same email they go out. Those are there. Any modifications to those have been minor. Some people are already used to using those or have tested them. They will remain available for you. And I encourage anyone who's doing sponsored programs, if you're not on the RAIN listserv and going to that meeting, that will be in about 2 weeks. An announcement will be going out soon. We're just finalizing the location. So I'd encourage you to come, and if you've tried them, to give feedback that way or through the Cornerstone email. They'll all get to the same people either way.
Thank you, Terry. Okay, so before I jump on, any questions on anything we've talked about so far? Yes? Oh, hold on. Let me get you a microphone.
Hi. So at the last RAIN meeting, there was talk about how payroll, in some cases, more accurate in Discover than in Oracle. And my question is, for those of us who didn't have access to Discover before the transition, we don't have access now. Mm-hmm. Is that still correct? And if it is there any plans to change that?
Okay. I'm going to let Betsy take that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we just met.
Go
It's on?
Yep.
Okay. We did just meet this week because we did hear there were some issues with some people not having access to Discover, so we met with the data warehouse and access team. Actually, it was the end of last week, so we're getting that resolved. So anyone that had payroll access prior, or anyone that needs access, should be able to get that set up. We're also changing the Oracle access form, so it'll automatically have a line item for legacy banner, the controller's report library, the financial data warehouse if you needed that information, or Discover for payroll. So we're making some enhancements on the access form itself to make sure that that gets covered. So if you want to send me your name, I can make sure that gets expedited if you have a group of people.
Okay.
Betsy Cafiro.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions? On anything? Quiet group today.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, you all will think of more.
Yeah, actually, Ernie reminded me that you actually started by saying that you had some issues with the PD report, right? Is that correct? And that. Mm-hmm.
That there were discrepancies in Oracle, and the Discover report was more accurate.
Okay. Yeah, we had heard the opposite the other day, actually, that somebody thought the Discover report wasn't accurate compared to what they thought their charges were in Oracle and PeopleSoft, and then they thought Oracle was accurate. So we're looking at that as well. Okay. But if you want to send me that, if you have proof of something, give me an example of your issue. Sure. We hadn't heard until like this, on Friday that we had an issue. Otherwise, we thought everything was pretty status quo. So okay. Yeah, if you can send that to me too.
Okay. Any other questions about anything we've gone over so far? If not, I just have a couple more things, then we'll turn it over to Kathy. We've spent, both Mike and I have pretty much spent all of our time here so far today talking to you about system, data, process, all basically technology things. But what's very important, something that I've always learned, is we cannot forget the most important resource we have here, and that's the people. All right, you are our most important resource, not the system. So we're also trying to look at some things to help you. All right, so one of the things that we announced earlier in October was that we were looking at doing a better job of training. So you should have all seen an email come out yesterday that we've launched the Training Refresh Initiative. Basically, this was a big effort for us. We've gone back and really looked at the way we're doing training. We're kind of retrofitting the whole process of how we train people, trying to put more focus on what you need and supporting you better. Okay, so all the training now is, you can find all the courses in one place. You can go to this website up here. It was also in the email yesterday, hrservices.rutgers.edu/Cornerstone Training. All the courses and all the registration information can be found there. All right, now the focus here is in 4 different areas. So this initiative is a collaboration between PMO and the Controller's Office and Procurement and ORED and the Budget Office. So we've got a lot of different trainings going on out there. We are also working hard to centralize where training is handled from, and also kind of more standardize the way training is given. So regardless of what campus you're on, what unit you're in, what training class you're attending, everything kind of looks and feels the same from a training perspective. So we're training everybody uniformly across the university. All right, so there's a lot of training courses available now through November and December. Financial management and procurement are open for registration now. You can go on the website and see what's available. There are courses for budget and for GCA. Those courses for right now are by invitation only because they're small groups and they're targeted training courses. The ones on the top are more general and core courses that everyone should take. Now, one thing I will point out before anyone goes to log on and gets frustrated, we realize that there may not be enough courses set up right now to handle everyone in the university. We want everybody to get a refresh. We want you all to come back into this training, okay? Because when you were trained originally during the first implementation, that's sometimes that's difficult because it's brand new to you and you don't know what you don't know yet. And what that means is you're not quite sure during that initial training what questions to ask. And we don't know what we didn't know yet.
There's a lot of the training that has to do with the real experience in using it. And, you know, what you have as a theory before you turn on the system, when it actually gets used by real human beings, you have to make adjustments to that. So a lot of this has to do with reworking the training, reworking the examples, the business processes, you know, the real ones getting embedded into the courses themselves. That's a big change in this that's really important for it to be useful to you.
Yeah. So in addition to what Mike said, you know, we've also gone back and reviewed all the content and all the training materials. So we've updated all of our presentations. Because in addition to all the feedback and what you folks have reported to us from working in the system for a year, there's also been updates in the system and changes within some of the processes. So we need to get those out to you as well. So one thing I will ask is if you go onto the website and you go to look for a training course and if you see they're full, please do us a favor. Do not stop and get out of the website. Go ahead and complete your registration, even if the course is full, because what's that going to do is put your name on a waiting list. Those waiting lists are what we're going to use to gauge demand to add more courses. Okay, so if you just stop and quit out of the system and we don't know you're looking for another course, we're not going to keep setting them up unless we have the demand. So please complete the registration, and we'll monitor that, and that will let us know where we need to set up courses. And these courses will be on every campus. Okay, we want to get to everybody as best we can, and we'll work on some more web-based and interactive training so everybody doesn't have to do on-hand, in-person, hands-on training. All right, some of the courses work better that way, we understand that, but we're going to try to get better information out there for folks who can't physically come to a training course. All right, so that's out there now. Take a look. Please register for courses you want. We want feedback on this. We want to know if our revised training programs are working better, is our content better, are the sessions more valuable. Any feedback you have, please get it to us at the Cornerstone website. Stephanie Reed, myself, and Wanda, our training manager, will constantly review that to get your feedback. We'll keep enhancing based on what you tell us you need. Okay? And then on October 30th, we launched a refreshed website. It's not a brand new website. Yes, I'm sorry. Good.
Corporate or non-corporate, you should have revised the training in 6 months.
Well, I think what So this was really a major effort based on lots of the recent issues and changes we've seen, first of all. So training has always been going on. There's been training courses have been offered since the implementation of the system. I think this was not so much reactionary as it took some time to put the planning into place to get everybody together. But revising the training materials, we went through a lot of change from when the year end closed and we went through these audits and we're going into project review. There was a lot of things came up in R12, upgrades in the system. So we really wanted to get things stable as we can at this point in time before we went ahead and rolled out kind of refresh training. So that's part of the reason why. It was not that we were holding back and didn't want to get out there. We wanted to make sure that we were coming to you when the system was stable and we were ready to present a refresh training course for you. So we apologize if it was frustrating to wait so long, but there were legitimate reasons behind why we took our time to do this.
I mean, I could understand that, but still, the campus, the staff, and everyone, they still had issues.
Yep.
Starting in last October until now,
Yep.
to wait so long to enhance the training process, that's neglectful to me. I don't know about everybody else, but when you're hearing from the community the problems day in, day out, the frustration, that really...
Not disagreeing with you, sir. You're absolutely correct. And that's also, part of the training refreshes as well as everything else we're doing. And like I just kind of opened up with this, we really need to do a better job from our Cornerstone team for the entire community of communication, of listening to you and getting back to you in a more timely manner. One of the other things, in addition to the training and the website that we've done, Stephanie and I are meeting with the other departments and functional areas, looking at the help desks. How can we improve help desk? How can we improve the way that when people come to us, we make sure their issues are being addressed? So in the midst of all the system issues, yes, we definitely understand there have been some people issues as well, and we are addressing those. We apologize it's taken so long, but they are definitely top on our radar, and they are being addressed. So thank you very much for your question. Yes?
Just one second. Hi, I just want to
sorry.
ask a question about
Yes.
the workshops dealing in the ORID area, and I'm just curious as to how they determine the initial target group for that. Because when I wanted to register, I thought it would be good for myself and my staff.
Right.
It said by invitation only, so I was curious.
Okay. I think Terry can probably respond to that.
So we're running a 4-week session. The first class is tomorrow. I'm personally teaching it. We did it half with internal staff so that they can assess the quality and also learn, and then we did it half by reaching out to a broad swath of different schools via people that we have contacts with through research development professionals, research deans, to get a broad sampling so that we would make sure that we're hitting all of the right targets. So we're launching it as a beta, and that way we wanted to make sure that we could cover engineering, and we could cover life sciences, and we could cover social sciences, and so that was how it was put together. So they're going to get extensive opportunities to give us feedback, including about me personally, in surveys, so that when we full launch the course, we're also trying to decide on the size of the course. We wanted to limit it to 30 people. So that's the other thing we're going to figure out, is if we can make it bigger or more sessions. So the goal is to make sure that what we launch comes out and meets the needs.
And part of that also goes back to what I was just saying about if you do initially go in and you find courses are full, please get yourself on a waiting list. Again, we want to get this out to as many people as we can, but understanding how large Rutgers is. I mean, just from a staff perspective, there's 27,000 people that all need a different level and a myriad of training. So one of the other things we've looked at to try to help you and us as part of the refresh training piece is we've taken all the courses and broken them down at a foundational level and tiered the training. And we're going to be able to share with you, and it'll be coming out more enhanced information on the training website, that you can go in and look based on your role, what tier we feel you fall into within the staff at Rutgers, and that will gear you directly towards the courses we feel you should be starting with. There will be advanced courses beyond that, but the core foundational courses, you'll be able to go in and say, well, this is kind of where I sit, this is what I do, where should I go? What's the best training for me at this point in my career at Rutgers? So we're working on getting that out to you as well, because it can be confusing as well to go into a training website and just look and just see this long list of all these training courses and maybe not be 100% sure which one you belong in. So we're trying to help guide you on that as well. I think there was a question in the back.
Hi. Thank you. First of all, I want to just say, I want to thank you, and thank you, Mr. Gower. I had spoken to you at one other town meeting, and you certainly have heard my concerns as far as training and such, and I really do appreciate it. I would like to just say that for me personally, I think that some of the training that has been such a source of challenge and frustration is for those of us that are not business people.
Okay.
Okay? So I think that there is so much out there and so much to know. What would be most helpful to myself with no business office to guide me is this is what I need to accomplish. These are the reports you need, just run them. Learn how to run them and just run them.
Okay.
Like you said, you have so many reports. I find it so overwhelming. And even down to the language is so above my training, my knowledge, that it's really very hard sometimes to grasp it, no matter how much training I'm doing.
Completely agree with you. And one of the things that recognize that in the effort to be responsive and get a lot of information out there, we overwhelmed the community. So as John said earlier, one of the things that we're defining right now is report by role, relating it to a business function, relating it to kind of an activity so it can suggest this is the best one to use for this purpose. And I think that along with that, as we go through the reporting coursework, I think we'll start to develop some experience of how to relate, what someone at another institution described recently as Rutgers Business 101. Certain things that are needed for certain roles, and maybe there's a prerequisite that's not about the system, but about some of the business conventions or otherwise. So completely agree with you. We have probably, as mentioned before, reports, multiple reports that do the same thing, and maybe an earlier version that needs to get retired to lessen the size of that list and get it down to more manageable. So in the zeal to get a lot out there, we got a lot out there, and now really need to relate it back for individual use. This is something where, as you use reports and have feedback, such as what you just said, would be very helpful to pass along, because there are probably 500 different business units in Rutgers who have 500 slightly different needs about those sorts of things, and the more that we can relate it to the work, the better it'll be for you. So thank you for that comment.
Okay. And again, those are the kinds of comments, guys. You don't have to hold those and wait for the next town hall or for us to come around. Cornerstone website. Go ahead and send us all your feedback, any notes you want. We will be monitoring those. We will get back to you. We'll let you know what we can do to address any issues you have. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. It's just some information kind of to follow up on that. I was recently at the Coupa HR National Conference, and it's actually NC State that does use PeopleSoft, but an admin component of it to do a year-long kind of orientation. And they use it to send out just-in-time things, and it includes training. And you could link something like that to a job class code. I mean, we're looking to kind of develop our own. But just an information as you look at HR systems.
Yes, that is in fact something as we go through the HR project, business process. We have an extraordinarily complex set of positions, or actually it's still two sets of positions, and kind of what's behind each one, or what are the needs of them by classification is definitely on that list. So you said you saw something that was very interesting from NC State. Okay, then I know my counterpart there will follow that through. You know the counterpart there. We'll follow through and say, because I have no problem copying somebody's good work, with attribution, of course.
Thank you, Mike. Anything else? All right, just last quick note.
Sorry.
Oh, yes, go ahead, please.
Sorry, I'm going back to the GCA project review, and I'm
Yes.
assuming that's a sponsored project review.
Yes.
Is there any progress on the non-sponsored project review? I'm a legacy UMD&J person, so there's.
Included in that.
It is.
That's the second phase.
Okay,
That's both
thank
the AR cleanup project. Sorry. So it's in phase 2. It's also what those BR3s are, is the Rutgers term for the discretionary accounts. So they will all go through project review. They've just been moved down because they're non-sponsored. And then we're in the discussions about when they're all gone through project review, how will they transition to their new state with the controller's office as non-sponsored, to move those out of the historic fact that they were in GCA.
So some of those are going to be part of the BR3 bucket, and others are going to be part of that TBD bucket.
Yeah.
The ones that just haven't been assigned a category yet, because we're focusing on the high priority right now.
This is probably a given, but we're looking at fund balance conversion.
Yes.
Yes.
Hi. I have a question. You mentioned that 3% of GCA projects had been completed, is that right? But I didn't catch how long it took to do those 3%.
That's
know?
part of what we're going through right now. As I said, part of the initial challenges with getting a project review, really some momentum has been training and getting resources in place. And Terry's probably been a little bit more intimate.
Don't do the math, because this is the early
Exactly.
stages, right? So these people, we made a conscious decision that we would have Huron do certain things, but things that were existing and going to be ongoing, we wanted the accountants to be a part of the process. It is something they would normally do in the course of the year. It's just ramping up. And so we are having them be careful to start. We are reviewing everything as they do it. They're sitting with Huron as they're doing theirs. So we're getting to where we'll actually start to look at what the rate is going to be to complete this. And if we don't think that we're going to be in what is a reasonable amount of time, which is going to be months, you know, it's not going to be weeks, then we can reassess our strategy. But for right now, that's the, you know, give us a couple more weeks before we're going to make a determination of if it's what that would project the end to be. And the further along we get, the easier it's going to get. So a lot of the things that are on there, those new projects, if they've all been billed within the system, if they were all set up, you know, and didn't convert, there's a lot of stuff in here that did not convert. Those are going to go much faster. So it's not, it's, you know, and it's also need-based. We're going to be reconciling maybe some of the harder things first, because we know we need to go and we need to be invoicing the DOD, and we want to get it reconciled in the system.
Yes.
I could really use a report that shows what goes through the project and hits the GL, or what skipped the project and went straight to the GL. Is that in the works?
I'm going to let Steve, our reporting expert, take that.
Yes, hi. So that one that we showed earlier, the 073, that is a project report for sponsored or non-sponsored, and it also shows where it landed in the GL. So it'll show the chart string, which will be the GL, and then it'll show the project chart components for where it hit on the project. So you could use that report for that purpose. Yes, it shows the transactions, yes. And it's just for cost, not for revenue.
I have a
That's only on the project side, so for the GL, you would look at a transaction detail report such as the GL 071. We can help you out with that one. It may be the way you're accessing it. We did find that some folks were accessing it through the Financial Reporting Center. That needs to be accessed through the shared folders. So is that the issue?
I don't think so. I followed the navigation that was provided last week when the report was announced. I sent an email immediately and did get a response that said that they were aware of issues with the report. It's running, but it's coming back with no data.
Okay. If you contact me, I'll help you out.
Okay.
Steve Roga.
Thank you.
I have a question about revenue, IPO revenue. When is that going to start appearing in the project that it's supposed to appear in, rather than just in the GL? Because we have to move it now.
Yeah, we don't have a solution for that directly because the process we're using for the IPO, you know, revenue credit that you're getting, or, expense recovery, is using a check process in the accounts payable system, which is only a GL-related functionality, so it doesn't want to look at the projects module. So we really have to take that back and rethink how we're going to do the whole IPO experience. So we don't have a solution right now. You have to manually move it from GL to projects because of the way we're using the system. So that would be another phase 2 we can put on. There's just, it's not a real phase 2, but it's an enhancement we have to work on.
Okay, is there anything else? Okay, if not, again, just a quick note, back to the website. So October 30th was a refreshed website. What we tried to do was just clean up, get some of the old data out there. We tried to do a better job on the top navigation pieces, refresh the layout, try to get some better information in there. It's phase 1. We're going to continue to work on that website. We're going to update the training section. We're also going to try to create some specific areas for content for targeted groups. So there might be specific areas for certain groups you can go to just applicable to what you do. So that will continue to be refreshed. Again, like everything else we're doing, please feel free to give us your feedback on any suggestions for improvements or other ideas you might have to make the website a better place. We're just trying to make it more user-friendly, easier for you to go find exactly what you're looking for. Okay? Any other questions? Yes.
Questions.
Sure.
I noticed when I've sent requests into the procurefinance.rutgers.edu with questions or issues, usually I'll get back, if I send multiple ones, I usually get back emails saying a ticket's been created, and then a few days later it's saying it's been resolved. But I can't figure out where is the system picking up what I actually initially am asking about, because sometimes I get a ticket and saying it's been resolved and I have no idea what it was, what they're talking about.
Okay.
So I was wondering if there's a way. I know, like, I'm under the School of Arts and Sciences, and if I put a request in for an IT, I put an IT work order in, I get a ticket back, and it shows exactly what my question was. And then when it's resolved, it says resolved and how they resolved it, which I thought might be helpful as well.
So that's one of the items that I can kind of respond to on that. We actually just had a meeting about this yesterday, as a matter of fact. So we talked about we're trying to do a better job on help desks, and that's one of the things that we brought up yesterday. So right now, there's multiple help desks within different functions within different areas. They're kind of each handling the way they take requests, resolve them, and respond in a different way. So we're looking at coming up with a more uniform format that is more informative and responsive to you. So I understand, and what you're mentioning is one of the things that someone said yesterday. We get multiple requests. Sometimes we put them on one ticket, but then if we're not translating that back to you with a resolution, it's difficult for you. So it is we're looking at how to fix that, not just for procurement help desk, but for all the help desks. So we're all operating the same. So if you do go to multiple help desks, you can expect the same response and service level back. So that's something that's being developed right now to try to work on that.
Okay, and I just had one other question.
Sure.
I've been running the finance approver reports as well as the project manager reports because we're continuing. I'm in the math department, and I'm getting, like, on the finance approver side, there's probably like 50 or 60 faculty that belong to chemistry. So they're coming to us for approval. We have to keep reassigning them, and I'm putting in requests, and it still hasn't been resolved. You know, I might get a couple from statistic, and we're trying to resolve it. I'm not quite sure exactly what the process is.
I don't have an immediate response to that. Do you? Let's give you a response now, but we also can look into it for you.
So I got a report yesterday that I thought all of our finance approver, updates had been complete. So I'm going to look into that because that's my area to update that access. So I haven't heard that anything's been switching on. It makes it sound like it's been switching.
Like, for instance, my approver will get something, and he is now familiar with, like, oh, that belongs to chemistry, so he'll reassign it to chemistry, to someone in chemistry. Yeah, I mean, it's usually, I guess it's like, I guess the expense reports, and what's happening is some people are actually getting tired of reassigning them to us, and they're just rejecting them. And so that's one of the issues that we're having. But if we, I guess since I'm under the School of Arts and Sciences, I'm not really sure, should we be sending our request through the school and then they forward it? Like, how should it be working? Or can we send it
So
directly?
expense reports for projects, right, they go to the project manager first. So you would want to make sure that the project manager on the
Right.
project is correct.
Yeah, I'm dealing with both.
Okay.
The finance approver and the project manager
Okay,
reports
and
as
then
well.
the finance approver, I'm sorry, is based on the employee itself, right? So it's not
Correct.
based on any kind of organization
Right.
necessarily or who you're charging on the expense report. So it is a little, tiring to change the finance approver if you need to get that changed. But, we do have the multi-access form. You can fill out multiple sheets, and we're trying to upload them as quick as possible. An Excel type of version as opposed to a single form. So if you could reach out to me, let me just
Sure.
find out what's going on with my area on that.
Okay, great,
Okay.
thanks.
Is there anything else? I'm sorry, we've got one up here in the front.
I'm hoping somebody can help me with this one. We closed last year, and intact, at a unit level, my fund balance is fine, ending last year and starting balance for this year. But when you start delving into what makes up my fund balance, this Division 1510 is appearing, Organization 3103, and this is part of the Central Controller's Office. It's got nothing to do with my Unit 470, and this division and org is also appearing for the Professional Science Masters, Unit 340. So I'm just wondering, are we even aware that we've got this issue? Because last year I had an extra $8 million in my fund balance, and finally in June we got it resolved. I just don't want this to repeat itself for this fiscal year, so I thought I'd mention it today. Are we aware of this? Okay.
This is in the controller's, financial area, but it's part of the conversion. So, and I know, you have been working with, some people in the controller's area on this. Your name has definitely come up about your beginning balance not being
Okay.
correct and,
Yeah,
and
when I started.
having the division and org of the controller. So I think we just need to bubble that up, and now that year end is pretty much over, to tackle this one definitely. Yeah. So we'll take this back.
Right behind you.
Since we are talking about the financial approvers for expense report, every time I ask them if I need more information, if I send it back for more information, for some reason they cannot attach any new file to the expense report. They have to withdraw and do it all over again.
Yeah, everything lays in the hands of the employee. So if you need any changes to the report, only the employee can do it. So ask them to withdraw the report, make the changes, and then submit it again to go through the process.
Why can't they just
It's-
attach? They say, like, when I return to them.
Yes, they can do that then.
They have to redo it rather than just attaching the
You
information.
mean redo the whole report?
Yeah.
No, they shouldn't have to redo the whole report. They should just withdraw the report. If
So
it's
with
in
the-
their queue, they can use it again.
So withdraw and then redo it.
Make the changes that are necessary. Don't start from scratch. That's just a waste of time.
Okay.
Okay?
Oh, thank
Call
you.
me if you have any issues.
Anything else? Okay, if there's nothing else, I'm going to turn it over now to Kathy Detloff to talk about the Chart of Accounts Initiative. Thank you all very much.
Good morning, everyone. For those of you I don't know, my name is Kathy Detloff. I'm Vice President of Financial Planning and Budget. But more important, I'm one of the co-sponsors for the Chart of Account Initiative, and that is what I'm going to talk to you about today. The goal is pretty simple, as it's stated up here. We really want to improve how we support our operations by making the Chart of Accounts simpler to use, ensuring the data are accurate and easily reportable across the university, and making certain that the project ledger interacts seamlessly with the general ledger. So that seems kind of intuitive, but really not where we are right now. We know so much more today than we knew 18 months ago when we were doing the chart of account design and looking at values and things such as that. What we want to do going forward is take the lessons learned over the last year and decide what our path forward should be. So we're really going to take a multifaceted approach that will particularly look at each of the chart values in each segment, and are they what they should be? Is there a better way that we can utilize them? One of the examples that came up almost immediately, if you're in a central organization, you share one unit. So the budget office has the same unit as the controller's office, has the same unit as OIT or information technology, and that's not working well. So one of the things we need to do immediately is give each of those organizations their own unit number. But we do need to look across the university at all the different values that we're using. But it's a much more multifaceted approach than that, because we can design the chart perfectly, but if we don't use it well, it doesn't matter. So we want to look at business practices. There are many correct ways to do the same transaction. Maybe it's faculty startups. You can do that as a project. You can do that maybe in a fund type. But we want to look at what is the best practice and educate people on how to use that practice, because it will make the data then more reportable across the university. So there's that best practice review. And it is the education and just the learning point. Someone brought up before, which I think is an excellent point. Not everybody is accountants. So not everybody knows what value should I choose. I just want to get the dang thing in the general ledger, right? So this is where the 4-H issue came in. If I picked 4-H and it worked and it went through and it hit my all good for me, right? But then it causes problems on the back end. So we really want to take a good hard look at what practices and policies should we establish, and even to the point of giving directives. When you do X, this is how you're going to do it, because everybody wants to do their job and they want to do it well. We just need to make that easier for you and give you the information that you need. So we are looking at it as a true, very holistic approach, and really we need to learn from it, and we need to do that with your help. Sitting at Knightsbridge, we don't have all the answers, and we certainly don't have all the information. So we need as much engagement from the people on the ground doing the work as possible. So here are the people that I have chosen to keep me in line, to make sure I don't steer off course and do something terribly wrong. This group was put together very thoughtfully. You'll see the campus advisory group on the right-hand side. Hopefully there is at least one name on that group that you recognize. We chose people from each chancellor's area, but then it was very important to me that we had key stakeholders from each of our key areas of operations. So we have someone there that deals mostly with healthcare. We have someone there from a heavy instruction area. We have someone there from auxiliaries, public service, research. We want to make sure we have all the key areas covered. And then in that center group is really what I call our internal team. So me together with our controller, Pete Larson, are the sponsors of the project. We put together this middle group, which is the Chart of Accounts team. Hopefully you recognize some names on there. We are supported by some consultants from Huron, and we have the project management team that will help with just general running of the project, change management issues, helping with the training, as John spoke about, making sure it's consistent with some of the other training that you received, and along the way. This is only one way that I intend to gather information and gather just really needs from the community. So one of the other reasons these people on the right-hand side were chosen, they have a really good network. They know a lot of people. They talk to a lot of people. Many people are comfortable talking to them. So I think that's important as well. We want to get them to get information out and draw feedback. We will also have focus groups. I keep nudging Stephanie, get her name, get his name, because when we come to an item that really needs particular experts from the area, so maybe we may be looking at how we're going to handle non-sponsored projects going forward. Do they belong in the project system? Do they belong only in the general ledger? How can we facilitate and understand what people are trying to accomplish when they do something like this? I need people that are doing it every day. So I may gather 10 people who are the heaviest users of non-sponsored projects and ask them questions within a focus group. And we'll also do surveys. If there's, one of the things that we need to do is find out how this will impact everybody. Send out a survey across the board and say, do you have any very localized interfaces that only you are using? We want to know about that. So we'll use surveys as well. One of the other things we have done is set up an email box. And I know people look at those as black holes, and sometimes they are. This one is not. So I answer each of these emails myself within 2 days, and I have 2 people on my staff that nudge me gently and say, you know you got emails in there, you know you got emails in there. So I get Post-its or whatever. So we do make sure that those get answered. I should say they get responded to. I don't know that I'll have an answer for you, but we're really taking a tracking system of the issues that people are running into as well. When we talk about the design and the business processes and the education, that is kind of, I look at it as one side of the task. The other side of it is really the impact assessment. And these two are going on simultaneously, really running in parallel. I don't take this initiative lightly. I know it's really big. If we start changing things on you before we're ready, that could be disastrous, right? So we need to know, and again, learn from what has happened over the past 12 to 14 months, and really do an impact assessment and say, what would it take to make a change in the chart of accounts, whether it big or small, that it would really be seamless for the community. So this is going to be a very robust exercise. Like I said, we're going to survey you and say, here are the interfaces that we've recognized. What other ones do you have out there? It's also not just about the technical side of it. It's about the personal side of it. For someone sitting at their desk, if we change a value in their chart of accounts, what does that mean for them? Where is their checklist that says what do they have to do on the day that we decide to do a changeover to make sure everything runs appropriately? And then again, the business processes behind it, right? We want to make sure all of that is coordinated before we do anything. So that's really how the approach I'm taking, and the different ways to gather information and to ensure that we can really start optimizing the technology that we have. So at this point, I'd like to take questions and thoughts about the process. One of the things I just wanted to add is I've gotten a lot of questions about how was I going to keep up with the mailbox? How are you possibly going to answer everyone yourself? If I get to a point that I have so much engagement that I can't answer all the emails myself, that would be wonderful. So I just really want to emphasize it is budget@finance.rutgers.edu, so pretty simple. And I just encourage you, any issues you're having with the chart or any ideas you have, put them out there. Like I said, I don't know I'll have an answer to your questions right away, but I will certainly respond and make sure that as we're addressing things with the advisory committee, we have all the concerns on the list and work from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Let me just reemphasize the importance of your feedback and input and thoughts and ideas about that. Because at the end of the day, what we want out of the system is good data for you to manage by. We want to make it easier to close the books every month and at the end of the year. We want to get into some semblance of normalcy as we go along. So the better feedback we can get from you, the better product will come at the other end. We have a few more minutes for other questions or comments or suggestions, and would love to have those. Mike's coming to you there.
Hi. I might have maxed out.
Not at all.
This is a question regarding sponsor invoicing and vendors. So you probably know the situation with the sponsor invoicing and
yes,
yeah.
It's been very slow, but it is, I'm getting weekly updates of exactly how many for each accountant where they're invoicing in the system now, now that the invoicing in the system is working and as part of project review. So we are acutely aware that not the letter of credit draws, but the invoicing. Okay. So we are paying massive attention to that right now.
So at the RAIN meeting, they mentioned that it could be months until the situation changes. And my question or suggestion is, and also dealing on the vendor side, are there any communications that have come out and gone out to vendors or the sponsors regarding the situation or informing them of the situation?
So early on, we had announced through the RAIN group that when anyone, we can't just go to NIH or DOD and send, there's not like a single address you can go to. Everybody has a different project officer. So early on, we put together a letter that went out from Angelo Christomalis directly to anyone where we requested or we had a problem that explained the situation early on. So for new grants, it's much easier, or contracts. One of the issues the accountants have is they lost their worksheets in the new system that they had used before to know when they needed to invoice. And we have been meeting with Huron and looking to build that sort of a worksheet into the system, as well as how to put into Oracle the triggers that we can capture so that they know when to invoice. So that is still more manual than we like. So that is part of what fixing that will drive the issue of making sure that we're invoicing at the right time. Project review is going to allow us to invoice directly. And so that is part of what drives the priority list for project review.
Okay.
I can't speak to vendors. Are you saying that vendors are saying they're not getting paid?
Yeah,
Still?
I still have vendors who haven't been paid or, and who are frustrated, and, I can apologize and.
These are vendors, these are normal procurement vendors?
Yeah, suppliers.
Okay. Dave, you want?
We can take this offline, but we don't have a process by which we can just provide blanket notification to suppliers with delays that we have too many suppliers in the system. But if there's specific issues with regard to suppliers, we can certainly discuss how to notify them if you're having a specific issue. So when this is over, I'll come over and I'll speak with you.
Yeah, there is no systemic issue with paying vendors. So if there is if there is a vendor or two that are not getting it, then there's a very specific to that transaction issue. So those are things we need to get fed back into procurement services. The system itself is caught up in terms of normal payment of vendors, but like everything, there's going to be specific cases that are going to have a problem, and we just need to know what they are. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate that. One thing that I would ask anybody here, and you can give us feedback through the Cornerstone at Rutgers.edu email, is what would be helpful. These town halls will continue on a monthly basis and rotate around the university. Is there anything that we could do better with the town halls? Anything that you would prefer to have? So we'd love to have that kind of feedback. So those of you who participated here or those that are on the web, please drop us a note, cornerstone.rutgers.edu. Stephanie sees every single one of those, and we will we'll adjust accordingly. So thank you all. Have a great day.